Hi, I'm Josh Ellsworth with Stahls TV, and welcome to today's class all about creating names and numbers for team uniforms. So we are broadcasting live on Facebook for those watching live, or if you're watching on YouTube with our post-show recording, feel free to like and subscribe to connect to more content like this. So when you think about the time of year, we're in January, and we start to plan the year and look forward to spring sports. Sports are pretty much a year-round business for those companies that are decorating for them, and they can be lucrative, but they can also be challenging from a production standpoint. And so at Stahls, a long time ago actually, we created a software program that's free and it's online. It's called CadworxLIVE. CadworxLIVE has a design studio where you can create all sorts of artwork that's ready to be cut on whatever brand vinyl cutter you have, and able to be heat applied, of course, after you cut it out of vinyl, to apparel. And people use that program all the time, the design studio, for creating t-shirts and all sorts of fan merchandise. A lesser known part of that program, which is also free, is called EasyTEAMS. And today we're going to walk through EasyTEAMS to talk about the easiest way that I think there is to create player names and player numbers and combinations. But before we go too deep into the software, I want to talk a little bit about some of the potential jobs and decoration types that you may want to leverage EasyTEAMS for. So the first and most obvious is just names and numbers. And names and numbers come in a variety of ways. So I wanted to show you some of the ways that names and numbers are utilized across the sports world and even beyond that. But our first few looks are in sports uniforms. So we refer to this as a name and number combo. There is the player name portion, there is the number portion. The number happens to be two colors of layered heat transfer vinyl. This is our CAD cut ThermoFilm in this particular case, but we call this the player combo. That's what the back of the jersey is, and you'll hear that terminology used when we go into EasyTEAMS. We call this just, of course, a pre-space number. It could be a pre-cut number as well, but it's a number in this particular location on a football jersey. We call this a TV number because the idea is you'd be able to see this from the TV camera because it sits on top of the shoulder. The software program we're going to show you can create these pre-space numbers without the name for print locations like this or sleeves. We also have the front number. In this case, for football, the front number typically sits on its own. Often you'll have a smaller team name that goes across the top. And so the software is capable of doing these locations as well. What it's not capable of doing in the case of EasyTEAMS is this particular graphic. So if you want to do custom designs and logos that aren't name and number orientated, then that's where you'll go into the other parts of CADworks. And again, it'll make more sense when I show you. But whether it's football, combinations for baseball are potential opportunities. Those are ThermoFilm products. Here we have the logo, a CAD Prints logo combined with a pre-space number. So this is an idea of what may be used for a rec league, something like that, where we have our logo on front and then our number on back. And then it's not always in the case of the specific on-field or on-court uniform, but often we see the use of just name drops in different locations, whether that's on warm-up gear or coach's apparel, whatever it may be. In this case, we're looking at a nice polyester jacket that could be worn by any of the players in the dugout, and you'll see the player name drop. So the software has the ability to make names easier, and we call that variable data, where you have a team, you want to be able to process all the names, you want the names to be consistent as far as font and color and size and location, and you're just looking for an easy way to build all of that that's not in like a CorelDRAW or an Adobe Illustrator. Likewise, you can do sponsor logos or mass production. So if I wanted to put coach or a sponsor on a lot of shirts, this left chest placement is very common for personalized names as well. And we see this not only in sports, but I've used the EasyTEAMS program a lot for things like track jackets, even where you want to do a dancer's name in script for cheerleading dance, lots of different opportunities. So the program won't do monogramming, but the program will do personalized names and numbers in any location. So without further ado, let's jump over into the software and talk a little bit about how to access EasyTEAMS. So first thing you'll want to do is go to CADworks, which is WORXLIVE.com. We have thousands and thousands of Stahls customers who use this program for free right now. And you can go to CADworks, you can sign up for a free registration. You can see there's been over 2 million designs that have been created in this free program over the lifetime. And over 73,000 members use it every day for their business. Once you hop into CADworks and you get access, when you go up to the design tool, you'll have two designers. You'll have the Design Studio 2.2, and you'll also have EasyTEAMS. So just to show you the Design Studio first, this is the most utilized portion of the program for front designs. It gives you a design canvas. You can design from templates, and there's all sorts of pre-aligned templates here for different graduating classes and things of that nature. Also, when you're doing team business, I think you'll find yourself using this because it has, as we look forward to spring sports, functionality for even athletic tails, where we have a bunch of pre-designed tails that you can select, you can customize to the particular team that you want to decorate for. In this case, let's go ahead and do the Rockets, and you can change your font. It creates your script, click OK. You match that script with your athletic tail, and all along we are creating a vector cut file. And so at any time in this particular Design Studio, you can go into the wireframe mode, which I did in the bottom right-hand corner, if you're seeing where my mouse is hovering in the bottom right. And I can see kind of what the vinyl cutter sees. This is the cut line. So if I were to cut this design, as you see here, and let me zoom so you get a closer look, you would have all of these overlapping cuts, which isn't going to give me an optimal quality. And so there's basic design tools in here as well that will allow you to weld objects together so you can get rid of those lines, where you can weld your script once you've personalized the name. You can position it appropriately to the tail. You can also select the tail along with the script, and if you look down in this part of the screen on the right-hand side, I'm going to get rid of that by welding it together. And very quickly, very easily, I've created a cut file that's able to be sent over to my vinyl cutter for all of the fronts of the jersey. So that's the Design Studio. If you have a logo, you have an athletic tail, you have a design element that's more than a name and number, that's going to allow you to design and be able to cut quantity, because of course if I'm decorating for a baseball team with 20 players, they're all going to get Rockets on the front of the jersey. I'm going to cut that and design it from this program. Once you have that identified, then basically we move to the back of the jersey, and that's where I want to focus on with EasyTEAMS. So when you're in CADworks and you go to design, you just click Launch EasyTEAMS, and it will pull up a separate window that looks like this. So very similar functionality with how you utilize it, but also very task specific to creating player name and number combos. So let's start by walking you through this start portion of the screen. I'm actually going to see if I can change my view to zoom in just a bit here. Let me increase this so we can all see it a little bit better. So you'll be able to either create player names. So if you wanted to do the names only because you're getting the numbers elsewhere, or maybe it's just for that left chest placement I showed you earlier and we don't even need a number, I can just click Create Player Names. I can create player numbers only. Maybe I don't need a name on the back of the jersey, I just want numbers so they can be reused from year to year. Or I can create player combos, which is what we went over at the very top of the broadcast, which was the name and the number together in combination, pre-spaced. So you'd want to use, these are your three main keys that you will use most often, and then team sponsor is basically I want the name multiple times if that's just a way to create it. So let's start with the player combos, that's my favorite. When you open player combos, it will give you instructions about how to lay this out, but basically what it's asking you to do is type your whole roster into this window, type or paste here. Or you can also import a TXT file. So if your customer, maybe it's the manager of the team or the manager of the league, provides you with a roster list, put the spelling in their hands, you can actually save that Word file, Microsoft Word file, as a TXT file and be able to import that. So I did one of those earlier, so I'll just show you how to do that. You click Select a File, you'll navigate to the file within your particular computer library. I saved it as my name, and you can see it has all of the combinations pre-set up. So it's very important that you give the coach or the athletic director, whoever you're selling to, the format that you want them to type these in Microsoft Word. So it's very simple. It's the name, comma, space, and then the number. And then on the new line, the next name, comma, space, and the number. So you get the point. You can either type them in for somebody, you can even add to this list. So if I wanted to add a name to this list, go with caps, Jackson, let's say number 30 hasn't been used. You can append to existing and create all those. Once you have your complete roster, and EasyTEAMS can handle up to 100 line items, so you can have up to 100 items, which will cover any major sport. I can click OK. At that point, you'll see how quick and easy it is. It took all of those 9, in this case, combinations, and it brought them down into a list view where I can manage them individually or together. If I wanted to see any particular combo, I just click on the magnifying glass and it will pull that particular combo up on the screen. That way I can check in as I'm applying different effects and fonts and styles to the design. And so just to confirm, we are working in EasyTEAMS. This is free for Stahls customers, and I think that answers the question where we're at to date. So I'll check back in questions as we're broadcasting live here. So once you create your combos or your list of player names, then you're going to move over to the next tab, which is Style. And there are 2 different ways to apply styles. One is you can just apply a style to all the selected items, which that's everything with the box checked in this screen. And you can uncheck if for some reason you want to split your list and not apply a style for whatever reason. And you can apply number styles. The other thing you can do is edit the name and the number style. So basically the apply button are styles that are preset and pre-saved. So if I go into the apply the name style, these are already preset styles that are saved within EasyTEAMS that we think most people will like, so it makes it quick and easy. You can see they're named Quick Style within the library here. Once you figure out how you like to add styles to the names for the ligs that you're decorating for, you can even save your own quick styles. That way they can be applied to future jobs just to speed up the process. So I just wanted to show you can get to the name styles rather quickly. And when you select one, let's say I like this arch, open it up, it applies that arch to everything, particularly in the list. So as you go through and you click the magnifying glass, you'll see that all of your names that have been customized and still working to apply the effect have the arch effect applied. Now, if you want to get more detailed and mess with the effect stack, you can go to edit the name style of the selected items. And so when you go to edit, that's really going to pull up a lot of your choices that you're going to want to see. So you can see this has the text element and it has the arch element that have been applied. So all of your effects that you add will show in a stack, so you can edit any of the individual attributes of each effect. So in this case, I'm just going to remove that arch for a second. We'll go back to a straight name. I can see that I'm using the Arial font, so I'm going to click in and go to change that. You can use any of the preset fonts that are loaded into CADworks, and a lot of the popular Stahls fonts are already in here, which are athletic fonts that we see that are most popular. And you can also upload your own font if you'd like. If it's a true type font, you can upload that into the system. It will only be available under your login. In this case, we'll go with one of the Stahls fonts that exist, and let me find one. We'll go with Team US today, and I'll open that up. And I'm just going to cancel out that font menu, and you can see that was applied to the name within the window. You can also change the size of the font. In this case, we're dealing specifically with the height. And so I've made this a 2-inch name for the particular garment I'm decorating. If I wanted to make it a 2.5-inch name for whatever reason, I can do that. And it will apply not only to this name, but once I click OK, all of the names in my series. Likewise, you can add different effects. So if I wanted to individually apply, an outline to it or an arch, all of these effect stacks are within the system. And so you're able to add those very easily just by clicking on the library in the left-hand side, selecting the effect that you would like to add, and then applying it. So very quick, very easy to do that. So let's apply that arch back on, open that effect, and then you can even, you see the arch is highlighted, you can even change the height of the arch. If you want a little more of an arch, you can select that, but we default it to the most popular selection. So click OK. Again, that will apply to all the names in the list as I edited the name styles of the selected items. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for the number style so our number font can match the name. We'll navigate back to that Stahls folder, and we will go to the Team US option, open that, and then I'm going to go ahead and apply another effect to the name. In this case, we're working with an 8-inch number. I'm going to add a gap outline to it, which is under the contour menu, which will give me kind of like a cool effect, cool two-color look, even though I'm only going to cut this out of one color of vinyl. Of course, you can change all of the colors here on your outline and your text. In this case, I'm just going to design in black material because I'm only going to cut one color on the vinyl cutter once we get to that stage. So hopefully you get the idea. It's very easy to create player combos, very easy to update those in the system. All of the combos will update for you. And then if you like the name style or the number style you've created and you know you're going to want to use it in the future, you just save that, and that will be a quick apply in the future, so you don't have to build it from scratch. So I'm going to stop and take a look to see if there's any questions and then come back to the next step because I don't want to leave anybody behind when we're talking about software. Okay, so Georgianne is asking, can this work with any cutting machine or only roll-ins? So there's two pieces of the program I want to cover. Right now, we are dealing with an online design program, which is EasyTEAMS. And so these online design programs work with Mac or PC. They're just web-based and they can be launched. And once you've created all the designs you want, you'll see in a future step here in just a moment, we're going to get to exporting the file and pulling that down. Once you bring that file down, as long as your driver that is sending to your cutter can accept the file formats that it offers you the choice to do, then you can bring that into your own vinyl cutting driver that you use with your cutter and send it. So it's just creating a vector art cutting file. Now there's one other piece of CADworks that we're going to talk about that's integrated. It's called Vector Cut. Vector Cut is something that you download separately and that integrates with our designers and will drive certain vinyl cutters. So in that case, we give you the option to drive roll-in machines, Graphtec machines. There is a generic or universal option that will drive most cutting machines on the market unless that particular cutter manufacturer is trying to create like a closed system that won't allow other designers to be utilized. So odds are there is a way that you can use this design tool with nearly any brand of vinyl cutter on the market in some form or fashion. So I feel pretty confident in that. Okay, and yeah, Dax, you can select the same font for both the name and the number. The selections do have to happen separately. You can't apply it all at one time currently with EasyTEAMS. And I believe that that covers all the questions for now with what we have coming in live. So let's head back to the software. You'll see I'm still on the Style menu, and it's just a tab format. I'm going to move to the next tab, which is Options. And some of this gives you some important decisions. So unit, I think you'll set that once and forget it. I'm showing it in inches. And then after that, you have a simple tool here that allows you to show your name over the number. That's automatically selected. If for some reason you were doing, sometimes in like lady sports where hair may be covering the name, you'll do the name underneath the number. Usually it won't have an arch, it'll be a straight name in that particular case, but that's a quick box check to change that orientation on everything. And then this gap space is really important as it deals with layout and waste. So the gap space is the distance between this imaginary horizontal plane underneath your bottom edge of your name, from the bottom of the S in this case to the bottom corner of the T. There is exactly 1 inch between that line and the very top of your numbers. And so depending on the jersey, the t-shirt, the style that you're going to decorate with this, you may want to create that gap space and identify it so it makes it pre-laid out. So when you cut it, weed it, it's very easy to place all at one time and just press it. Now, if that gap space starts to get too large, like 2 inches or so like that, that's creating a lot of wasted vinyl. So sometimes I even like to cut the combos but make this gap space super small. like something like 0.2, which is just enough for me to run scissors in between my combo. So I keep that combo together, and then once I start matching it to the jersey that it goes to, the size and the color, I'll run my scissors here and I'll manually lay them out on the press to save money, but I will cut and keep them together. So that's your decision as far as managing waste, how you're going to nest stuff. Some people cut all their numbers separate from all their names because they really want to save on material and nest efficiently. That's your choice. The tool gives you the ability to change that. There is also something here that's important called a global width constraint. And so this is particularly important if you have a certain width that you can't exceed on all the combinations. So let's say you have a racerback tank top, which basically the form of the sleeves and comes in where the arms come out and restricts how wide something can be for placement. Last thing you want to do is cut this and then it doesn't fit on the shirt you want to decorate. So you can set a global width constraint, which basically means that will apply to everything in your list. And so if you have something that can be constrained that way, that's great. The other option is you can come down into the size to fit. If I know Ellsworth 23 is going on a particular smaller t-shirt size or jersey size, I can constrain down in this list view just that particular combination to 10 inches or however many inches I want it to be, which will ultimately choke down the combination. And you'll see when we send this to cut the player combo, it's working to update it now. So once we have all of that, all of your sets created, all of your options apply, you'll move to the next tab, which is output. So a couple different things you can do here. If you've spent all this work on your roster, I would recommend you save it. So you want to click Save As, and then you can name it, and then that way, if you got to get approval from the coach, or you're just doing some pre-work and you want to pull it up later or next year to see what you did, that's very easy and simple to do. The other option you can do is export. So as I was mentioning earlier, you can export directly to VectorCut, which is the integrated cut driver that you can download from CADworks, or you can export to a PLT file, which is a vector file that a lot of different cut drivers will accept. If not, if you have Corel or Illustrator, you can probably open that PLT file and then save it in another format to get it over to your cut driver. In this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and export this out to the version of VectorCut that I have installed. So I click the button, I put in the width of the material that I have loaded. In this case, I'm going to be cutting on 15-inch wide material, and then the length or the height of the material. So if you have, let's just say, a 5-yard roll of 180 inches, and it's telling me that it needs to be smaller than 99. Learned something today. So 99 inches is the max length for those 100 items, up to 100 items you have dedicated, and you can basically click OK, and it will render and export your job. So as you see here, when you open it into your cut driver, I'm going to zoom out a bit, it has created all of my combinations. So you can see I have my 14-inch wide material. In this case, I'm going to change the length here. For some reason, it did not take, so I'll report that. Change it to the 99 that would allow me to do. I think I can even size it above. We just don't want you exporting super large files. So I'm going to make sure it's longer than the names I have, otherwise it'll cut it off. It's very important that your page size exceeds the length of your names, and it'll create those combos. So let me zoom in on one so we can get a close look. So you can see it has the arch text, it has the gap space that I've programmed. In this case, it has the gap outline on the number, and everything's kind of lined up for me. I'd like to get rid of this auto weed when I'm cutting a lot of rosters, which is basically that weed border box that's around each individual, because I'm going to weed these all as one piece together instead of individually. Naturally, you will want to, I always recommend just checking to make sure everything fits. As you see, you want to make sure nothing is exceeding this edge of this line, because then it won't cut on the material. So let me zoom in on Phillips. Looks like we got plenty of space there. And this signifies my 14-inch usable space on my 15-inch roll of material that I'm going to load into my vinyl cutter here in a second. I want to also mirror this, very important. Mirrors everything into my list, and I always like to hit auto origin one more time just to make sure everything is in place. So this is ready to send the cut. I want to point out a couple other things before we actually cut here. One is you'll see the cut color on the side. So if this happened to be a 2-color design, it would show me 2 colors here. I must have picked 2 shades of black, which is why it's showing 2 colors here when I applied those colors. But this gives us a good example anyway. So you select whatever color you want. It'll only pull up those pieces, and then you can nest those pieces together. So that was my inner number in my combination that I changed, and there is my gap outline and my name. Or you can hold the control button to select them all, so it gets back to where I was. Also, this is where you'll select your vinyl cutter if you're sending from Vector Cut, and this is where you'll be able to send the cut job. Now, depending on your vinyl cutter, you're probably thinking I'm crazy to send a, 110-inch job over to the cutter, and that would be kind of crazy live on air, but we're going to send, I like to break this up into pieces, and so what I'll do is actually truncate this, maybe send 5 at a time, or be able to copy and paste this over to another screen and send smaller runs. Worst thing I want to do is send a 110-inch piece, have the vinyl go off track, and then lose all of that in the process. But I'm going to challenge myself. We'll go over to the cutter, load some material, see how much we can feed straight, and then we'll come back to the screen to be able to send it. So today we are going to be using ThermoFilm, one of my favorite products for team uniforms. When we talk about ease of weeding and use, you can't really beat it. As far as customizing for team uniforms, it comes 15 and 20 inches wide. It is a little thicker material, very athletic look and feel, extremely durable. This is our top selling product because people use it a ton for names and numbers. So I'm operating on the GraphTech vinyl cutter. This is the CE6000 Plus. I'm just loading the material onto the stand, and then I'm going to make sure that I have my pinch rollers into place on the edge of the material. I don't like to squeeze the boundaries too much. I pull my material tightly to the edge, and then I'm going to lock down my hold down device, which is right on the back of the machine here. And tell the machine I want you to find the front edge of that material. It's going to measure the width, which is really the distance in between the pinch rollers that it's finding here. And it tells me I have 14.083. It flashed really quickly on the screen. So I've set my material up on screen for 14 inches, if you remember. So I should be in great shape to do that. At this point, I'm just putting a little bit of slack on the roll in the back of the machine. I'm going to undo the brake. There's a brake on this particular cutter that'll allow the material to flow freely. If you let it flow too freely, it ends up all over the ground. So I like to put a little bit of some material down and then put my brake back on, so it's not going to roll all out on the floor, and then I got to clean it up. So with this now, I like to advance my material through the cutter to see how long I can go. So I'm holding the down arrow key. I'm going to hold the fast button with the arrow key on the GraphTech, and that's going to start to feed my material, and I'm reading my X access, which is the length of the material. Right now I'm up to 16 inches. I'm watching it against the pinch rollers. It's still looking straight. There's 40 inches, 50 inches, etc. I feel confident that I could probably get to about 70, 80 inches with how straight I've lined this, but because you guys are going to watch this cut, I'm not going to take all day on it, and we're going to size the design down to 60 inches and send it to cut because, talking real quick, because I've set the point of origin already on the cutter. After I feed this out, there's no reason for me to have to retract it back. I can just send the cut job and it'll go and find that front edge that I originally set it for. So I'm not going to waste all that material. So I have 50 inches, so I'm back in my screen here. Grab my selection tool. Just do a few of them for you. Delete some of these combos. And right there is 48 inches, so good guess. This is waste. Everything on this left side is waste, which is why I told you some people like to do the names separate from the numbers. You could, if you wanted to at this point, make that decision to separate. and be able to bring those down on the side as well. I made a bad move there. Control Z, Control Z. See what I did to Ellsworth on the number? Accidentally didn't select something when I drew my box around it, and it left it behind. And so now my offset on that. So we're going to Control Z about 100 times here. There we go. Back to where it's supposed to be. This is live. You learn more that way. Try that again. Make sure I get everything this time. I won't risk it. And now I'm going to use my arrow commands to move it. Just going to center it a little bit on material since I know I don't want to hug that edge too much. Once I'm good with it, I click Send Cut Job, and it will start to cut. Just so you know, before we came on air, I did do a test cut. I know the blade's set accurately for this material. Certainly would always recommend you test cut and make sure your downforce on the machine and your blade is correct before you send the job. So let's go ahead and send the job. Again, it'll retract the material. I have a pretty sharp blade in there. ThermoFilm is about 180 microns thick, which means it's like double the thickness of your standard material like a fashion film or premium plus. I have the speed set at 20, which is centimeters per second, which is about a little bit less than half as fast as the machine can go. Don't like to press the limits because this is unattended cutting. I'm going to be working on something else, and I'm talking about like finishing it a minute sooner just by cranking it up. I'm fine running it this way. And the downforce in this case with my blade and my extension is set on a force of 14, which if you have a Roland, that would be equivalent to about 140 grams of downforce. I find ThermoFilm cuts anywhere with a fresh blade from 140 up to potentially even 200, 220 grams or 22 if you have a dull blade in the unit. This is pretty forgiving, so you can get by a little bit with cutting it with a dull blade. It's not like a high stretch material at all, so very flexible from that standpoint. So as you're watching that cut, I'm going to come closer to the screen so I can see if you guys have any more questions. All right, so Mike, why do I get a cut box around each letter on the Graphtec 60 cutter? I'm not going to be able to answer that one right now, so what I would recommend is if you want to email QE, letter Q, letter E, at Stahls.com, one of our technicians will reach out and they'll be able to remote into your computer and help you out and try to figure that one out. And I think we're caught up right now, so I will fill the time with some more talking. I'm good at that. So the ThermoFilm product, when you look at that product, it costs about $0.015 per square inch. So the particular combos that I'm cutting right now have 8 inches in the number, and they have probably about 3 inches in the name by the time you figure out the arch and everything. So I'm using about 13 linear, 11.5 to, I'll say 12 linear inches, so a foot of material. And the reason I like to say linear inches on this calculation is all of this material on this side, this strip, is probably going to be waste. That's not material that I've utilized, so I'm going to eat that as waste in my business. So I'm going to make sure that's calculated into the cost when I'm charging for it. And so an easy calculation is if we say the material is 15 inches wide, we multiply that by the length of the material that you're using for each combo, and then by the cost per square inch, you should come up with something like, let's see, somewhere around $2.50 to $3 for this player combo by the time it's said and done. So to cut it yourself out of, I would say, the most premium material for athletics, that's what you're going to be looking at. If you're decorating maybe something that's thin and stretchy or just a t-shirt and you want to go with more of an economy grade product, to cut it yourself on a material like Premium Plus or Fashion Film or Sport Film Light, just other brands we have, it may cost only a penny a square inch. You can pull that cost down to about $1.50 to $2 per combo. But I wanted to show you ThermoFilm. We find people choose that the most for athletics. I'm going to advance the material. I can kind of see the cut lines here. So rather than weeding everything for you, I'm going to make an attempt to only cut one of them out here. So you'll be able to cut that, and then we'll pull it over to the table to begin the weeding process. I can see the cut lines. ThermoFilm is pretty forgiving, so if you want to bend it, you can feel free to bend it to find the edge of your material. In this case, I see the edge of my name is right here when I bend it, and so I like to do that, and then that'll allow me to take the scissors without risk of ruining my job and being able to trim this scrap piece away if I haven't utilized a weed border around my whole design. So there's a chance, you may be able to load that into your vinyl cutter and use that for a name, or certainly probably a half a dozen left chest names. And then I'm going to grab my weeding tool and I'm going to begin the weeding process. So again, ThermoFilm, very quick, very easy. It's a little thicker, so you don't get the breakage as well. Usually when people weed this, they understand the labor savings and they don't want to use any other product to do their athletic names and numbers, because you don't have to really be careful with it at all if you have it cut accurately. So that's how quick it can be to weed ThermoFilm. Also, because it is slightly thicker, it's a lot easier to get a hold of with this process with the weeding tool, or even if you don't want to use the weeding tool, just with bending the material, and if you have decent fingernails, being able to just grab it and then weed it. Even thin stuff like that, not breaking. So not only quick to weed, but when we move over to the heat press, we'll see it's quick to apply. So again, I made the decision to save on material by pulling my name a little bit closer to my number. Before I go over to the heat press, what I would do, because I don't want to be trimming at the heat press and wasting the time there, I would trim my name off separate from the number. I would match these to the shirt and they would travel together and the layout would happen over at the press. So let's head over there and show you how quick and easy it is to apply. You got me on this camera? He's good. So in this case, we're going to swing away the press. I'm operating on the Hotronix Fusion 1620. I'm just going to heat press this onto a performance tee. I'm going to load that on, get to the back of the press. I love that you can split and load these on. Like any material, we always recommend a preheat. I know some of you skip that step. We still recommend it. Helps just to get the moisture out of the garment and get it ready to heat apply. And then we're going to grab our name and number set and position our design. Now, you can purchase laser alignment tools to sit separate from the machine to be able to use that. A quick tip I like to do is finding the center is often the most difficult part, especially for a long name. I like to fold it back to back and put a little crease in it. And then that'll allow me to find the center of my shirt, which is sometimes at the tag, but I can definitely see it from the center of the collar, position that into place, and then some quick templates, like even a cardboard template or a ruler, to be able to just lay down and say, hey, my number is this distance on every one, is helpful. And you can kind of make those in various sizes and keep them nearby to your press. It's a way to save money and be able to do things quickly and easily. Position everything down. You can use a cover sheet. That would be recommended. Because I have the carrier on here, 330 degrees, 6 seconds, and we're at like a medium pressure. Open the press, and ThermoFilm is a hot peel. So you can see this has that really nice athletic finish. Has I would call it a semi-gloss finish. Let me see if you can see that on the camera. Yeah, you're seeing it come through there. A semi-gloss finish. If you do want to matte it up because you don't like the gloss finish as much, this product reacts very well to different styles of cover sheets. I've even seen some people put sandpaper or different texturizing paper, and ThermoFilm will pick up the texture of it, which is kind of a cool effect. But in this case, I'm just using craft paper. Going to hit it down for an additional 5 seconds. You can heat and reheat this stuff. It's not going to cause any issues. And then it mats down the finish a bit for you on the finished result. So that will outlast that jersey. I know I talked to customers. They've had ThermoFilm on garments year after year, and it lasts. It's built tough and it sticks and it stays. And you'd be surprised on how nice it feels when it's on even a nicer lightweight garment. So lots of potential there. So I'm not going to focus too much on the product in this case. Let's head back to the software. I'm going to take some questions and review some last minute things as well. All right, so it looks like there are no questions coming in currently. So again, if you're watching this on YouTube after, we're broadcasting live on Facebook. Our Facebook page is Stahls All Things Heat Printing. If you want to see when live broadcasts like this are coming up, you can like that page, or you can join our group, Heat Press for Profit, which is a great group of apparel decorators that share ideas, tips, tricks, lots of posts every day. That's on Facebook. It's Heat Press for Profit. Or like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching it there, and you can have all this content hit your inbox through notifications once you subscribe. Again, this is an easy way to do names and numbers. Let's recap what we talked through. I'm going to show you the computer screen one last time. One is we have a free online design software. It's CadworxLIVE.com, W-O-R-X, CadworxLIVE.com. It's free to use, free to sign up. Within CADworks, there are two tools once you sign up. There is the Design Studio and there is EasyTEAMS. The Design Studio will allow you to do things like this, where we're creating the athletic tail and different effects for the front of jerseys, the front of t-shirts, different designs. You can even import your own artwork and vectorize it. Lots of tutorials out there on our Stahls TV YouTube page on how to use the Design Studio. A lesser known part of the program, but those that use it cut sometimes tens of thousands of names, is EasyTEAMS. And EasyTEAMS is what allows you to create rosters, player combinations very easily. So far, we've shown you how to import a TXT file or create a roster with player combos from scratch by starting in the Start option within EasyTEAMS, but you can also create additional things. So I'm going to delete this particular list, and I can do things like create player numbers only. And so in this case, I don't even have to type very much. I can say, give me numbers 1 through 20, and give me number 99. Click OK, and it will automatically create all of those combinations. Because I'm creating within the same window, it maintains the effect that's already been set up previously. Otherwise, I'll just say New Project, and it will start with the Arial font from scratch. You can also create team sponsors very easy. So let's just say Josh's Auto Parts was sponsoring this particular team, and we know there's 21 players, right? We just did 21 numbers. Click OK. And very easily, we'll see Josh's Auto Parts created that many times. Once you've created, you can edit the font, you can edit the arch, you can edit multicolor, all of the attributes of whatever you make. You can create up to 100 items in a single list. After you reach 100, you'll have to save that list and you'll have to start a new one. But the nice thing is everything you create and everything you saved is under your login. And so next time you come in, you can simply go to Open Team Project, and you can see all the different things that I've created within the platform. In this particular case, I used it to create kids' names on the duffel bags for my daughter's dance school. We can open up that list, take a few seconds, and you can see, in this case, I sized them to fit 4.5 inches for some of these kids' names, and that particular one all fit 4.5 inches because it was a universal item like a backpack. I've also used the program to do track jackets. So if I open this up, here I have a list of kids' names that are all welded together in the next step in the process that will go onto track jackets. So this is a long list, so it's taking a second here. And you can see it has lots of data. So in this case, Delaney must have been going on a smaller size than Mila and Maggie. So it's sized to fit 3 inches versus 3.5. So a lot of different things you can create. If you want to create names and numbers for vinyl cutting, for personalization, which is growing like crazy, vector artwork to be able to cut, there's no easier way than EasyTEAMS. So hopefully you learned a lot from this particular session. I'm going to stay on and look at a couple more questions, but this will include the demonstration part, unless one of the questions lead us there, right? So let's take a look at those. Yeah, so ThermoFilm does come in 15 and 20 inches, that is correct. 15, 20-inch wide rolls. do I recommend Premium Plus for basketball jerseys? Good question, Sharon. So what we recommend is always like a tough thing, right? So Premium Plus, just to contrast it with ThermoFilm, Premium Plus is going to be the softest, best feeling, most lightweight product with a matte finish that you can use. It has great stretch, great rebound. So your finished product that you create, your customer is going to love it on basketball jerseys, which typically aren't high abrasion at all. You're not going to have contact like in football or soccer or lacrosse. And typically on basketball jerseys, you have lightweight fabric. So I think Premium Plus is a great selection. The only reason I would say you may want to look at ThermoFilm would be two things. One, if that basketball jersey wants to bleed through the garment, has a dye migration challenge. In that case, Premium Plus is so thin, if you put white on a red, there may be a risk that that jersey will bleed through. If you use ThermoFilm, you wouldn't have that risk. You won't get that bleeding happening at all. The other consideration would be the labor in the process. As we showed you today, ThermoFilm's a lot quicker to weed and use than Premium Plus. You're not going to get the same look and feel at the end of it, but in either case, you're going to get something that's going to be quality and built to last. So to answer your question, yes, I would probably use Premium Plus on a basketball jersey. However, if there was a bleeding issue or I was looking for something quick and easy, then I'd start to look at ThermoFilm. All right, let's see. Wow, I didn't know it would be, yeah, so automatically do number ranges. So yeah, EasyTEAMS saves so much time and headache. Thanks, Laura, appreciate your feedback there. I looked at some of our customers that are signed in for CADworks and the ones that are using EasyTEAMS, and they are exporting a lot of files. So people are finding a lot of value in this when they add it to their team uniform business. So we're up on our time here. I'll keep an eye on the comments through the rest of the day if you have any other questions. As always, thanks for watching our classes, broadcasting live from Stahls TV.